help you with anything? Is there anything particular that you're looking for today? Would you like to try anything on? Hello, hello, hello! If you don't know me, my name is Jenna. I am an international who has been living here in Germany since 2014. If you want to hear more about my life here in Germany, the culture shocks that I experienced, and all of the tips and tricks that you need from not just me, but the experts themselves, then make sure to subscribe and click that bell notification for more videos coming your way soon. So if you've been on my channel for a while, you probably have recognized that my #1 video is the culture shocks that I experienced here in Germany. I am going to make another one because those are kind of like the more obvious stereotypical culture shocks that I experienced when I first got here, but I have a very long list of some really good, unique ones that are specific to me that I'm really excited to share with you guys soon. But today we're going to talk about those reverse culture shocks that I experience when I go back to Canada. If you are an international living in a foreign country or you have traveled a lot, then you probably understand what I mean when I say that you don't feel that you belong exactly in one place or the other. So when I go to Canada, I always feel like this isn't my home, you know, this isn't who I am anymore. Versus when I'm living in Germany, I always feel like I'm still the foreigner. So you're always stuck somewhere in between. And now when I go home to Canada, I often find that I experience more culture shocks back home than I ever did here in Germany. Let me start off by saying Canadians are too polite. They really are. And I understand that because I understand when Germans come to me and say, Jenna, you're always smiling. Like, I don't get it. You know, are you so happy all the time? And this is not what I'm talking about. I feel like Canadians, they can be nice, but they can also be nice when they don't necessarily mean it. So for example, when you come into a store, perhaps you're going shopping at, I don't know, H&M, and you walk in, there will be somebody right in your face asking, can I help you with anything? Is there anything particular that you're looking for today? Would you like to try anything on? And this is the politeness that I mean. It's not being genuinely polite, it's being over friendly to the point where you realize that's not even really who they are. And so now, living in Germany for the past 7 years, I can really see it, you know, from an outsider's perspective. So I can really understand all of you Germans when you say that we're overly polite. So don't get me wrong, I still think that Canadians are very genuine and they genuinely are polite people. They are very sweet, they are very kind, and so this is something that I really miss when I'm living in Germany. But I do really feel like it's a breath of fresh air, not always being attacked, you know, in the stores or at a restaurant or whatnot with this super artificial smile asking if they can take your order. And when we're talking about customer service, if you've watched any of my other videos, you've also heard me say that there is pretty much no customer service here in Germany, and they don't feel the need to, you know, upsell or push you anything or ask you how your day is. They just want to take your order and don't even try to ask for something on the side or for something to be picked off your salad because it ain't gonna happen. But in Canada, I actually worked as a waitress myself, and so this is something that always really bothered me, is that when I was working, I was actually required to upsell certain items on the menu and to upsell dessert. So they actually train you when you first get started working as a server or a waitress that you need to say certain things from the beginning and the end. There is an entire process to customer service, not just within retail or restaurants, but everywhere you work in Canada, seriously, and America. So I don't know if that's a thing here in Germany. I'm pretty sure it's not, but I really do like having good customer service. I just don't really appreciate the in-your-face upsells, you know, you have to buy this dessert, today it's 20% off, or tomorrow it's not going to be here. And I think that that is something that I find to be really nice and really relaxed here in Germany, is that you don't have to worry about somebody just like being in your face. When I go back to visit Canada, I usually go back for quite a few weeks, so that also means that I often have to take multiple trips to the grocery store. And if I'm being totally honest here, I will walk into like a Walmart or a real Canadian superstore, and I will stand there at the entrance for like 2 minutes just being like, it is terrifying when you're so used to shopping here at like a small Lidl or Aldi or Penny or Rewe or whatever, because supermarkets in Canada are really that. Like if you're living in a major city or a suburb around a city, the grocery stores are massive. They are supermarkets. They are huge. Like think about a metro in Germany and double that. They are absolutely massive, and you really have to dedicate like a couple hours of your day to grocery shopping. And this is something that's very different in Germany. I go grocery shopping here probably 2 to 3 times a week, and in Canada we often take our vehicle, fill up our entire trunk of groceries, and then we don't have to do it for perhaps another couple weeks. So there are pros and cons to that, but the grocery store experience here in Germany is something that I really like. I like being able to just grab a few items, know exactly where they are, versus always having to find an employee to ask them which aisle is the cereal in, you know? Like, it is really insane. There's also one thing that I want to mention, and I know this is very different depending on where you live in Canada, but I lived in the suburbs outside of Toronto, and I have to say that our houses look very similar. It actually never bothered me until my husband pointed it out, because as a German, you know, he was so not used to arriving somewhere and then all of the houses just looking identical. We have this in Germany with these Neubaugebäuden, you know, like they're all white with the Anthrazit windows. So it is slowly coming to Germany, but in Canada, and especially in the suburbs, we often have houses, even houses that are worth $2, $3, $4 million can often look absolutely identical. And when you're driving, like in Oakville, for example, where I grew up, you would like drive up a hill and then you'd get to the top of this hill and you can just oversee the entire city, and it just looks like a sea of brown buildings. It does not look nice, despite the fact that these are gorgeous homes when you actually arrive to the street and look at the house, but you just look at this sea of roofs and it's just like somehow consumes you and terrifies you and makes you realize how small you are in this entire world. You know, like there's so much more to explore. Why would you spend so much time in this sea of houses that all look the same? It really is like the definition of suburbia. I really love the Autobahn here, and that is not because you can drive as fast as you want in some areas on the Autobahn, but it's because I find traffic, and I know some of you have already argued this point before. I've talked about how bad traffic is in Canada. Of course, it depends on where you live and where you're coming from. I lived in the Greater Toronto area, so me driving into Toronto would take me absolutely forever. We have like 16 or 18 lane highways. It is absolutely insane. Like when I come back from Germany to Canada and you get this overview of the highway, it is just like insane. It is very stressful, and I really like the Autobahns here in Germany because I find, I mean, you've got your 3, maybe 4 lane highways, and oftentimes the highways are quite natural. So they're often surrounded by trees or forests, and then every once in a while you enter some small little romantic village German town, and this is so much more peaceful and enjoyable. I really like driving here in Germany much better than I ever did in Canada. And lastly, my absolute favorite thing is having the freedom here in Germany to be able to drink in public. I am not a big drinker, but I do have to admit that I really like, you know, just taking an afternoon and bringing a bottle of wine and having a picnic along the Rhine River. And I'm sure that many of you also have kind of like your favorite spots outside where you can sit back and relax, but you can't drink in public in Canada. I mean, I get that it's not the nicest sight to see when everybody's crowded in this big bunch and they're all drinking and getting absolutely wasted, but these opportunities to be able to just sit back, relax along the water and have a glass of wine, or have a Wegbier as we like to call it here in Düsseldorf, is a luxury that I really never ever take for granted. If you are international and you are living in Germany, I would also love to know, what reverse culture shocks do you experience when you go home from having spent a significant amount of time here in Germany? And as promised, I will also share more of my personal culture shocks here in Germany for you on this channel, so stay tuned, und wie immer vielen lieben Dank und bis später.